Hey guys, I'm Scott with Trail Power, and this is the UGREEN PowerRoam 1200. It's a 1200 watt power station with a kilowatt of battery storage. And UGREEN sent it our way and asked us to give you our first impressions. And let me say up front, they did not pay us for this video, and they didn't even ask for any editorial input. In fact, they're seeing this video for the first time that you are. Sitting next to my Anker 767, the UGREEN looks like a little brother, maybe from another mother. I actually don't know if there's a familial connection between Anker and UGREEN, but there certainly appears to be some shared DNA. And that's a good thing, because the Anker, in my opinion, is the best 2 kilowatt power station on the market in 2023. Despite their obvious size differences, these two power stations have a lot in common, starting with the packaging. Both the UGREEN and the Anker are packaged in satin black boxes with thoughtful design rarely seen from offshore companies. Now you're probably saying, who really cares about the packaging? And I hear you, but it does go to show that UGREEN has stopped and thought about every touch point of the consumer experience, starting with the box. It's a good leading indicator that they've probably put a lot of thought into the accessories, the app, and the power station itself. And it tells me that UGREEN is making a real effort to stand out from the pack of mediocre power stations with zero support that are unfortunately flooding the market. That attention to detail carries over to the industrial design of both the Anker and the UGREEN. These are both high quality builds, from the clickiness of the buttons to the fit and finish of the port covers to the quietness of the fans. And speaking of quiet, this thing, like the Anker, is nearly silent. The loudest I could get it to operate at was 60 decibels. And like the Anker, it uses LFP or lithium iron phosphate batteries, which are safer and much longer lasting than the lithium-ion batteries found in lots of low-end power stations. The UGREEN supports up to 3,000 charge cycles and backs it up with a 5-year warranty, just like the Anker. The similarities don't end there. Both units use bidirectional inverters, which means no power bricks to deal with, and super fast charging to boot. The UGREEN will recharge from 0 to 80% in less than an hour, and to 100% in an hour and a half. Both the UGREEN and the Anker support pass-through charging and offer UPS capability with 20 millisecond switching from AC power to battery power. Both use XT60 connectors for their solar input, and both come with XT60 splitters for connecting multiple solar panels and a cigarette lighter plug for recharging from your car. And speaking of solar, the UGREEN can handle up to 400 watts of solar, which is great for a unit of this size. That means you can recharge it from the sun in as little as 3 to 4 hours. Now, UGREEN didn't send us their 200 watt panels, so we grabbed a couple of mismatched portable panels from our own fleet, and it handled them perfectly. The similarities of the Anker extend to the connectivity as well. Both have well-designed apps, but the UGREEN seems to be a generation or two more refined with better control, more feedback, and most importantly, the UGREEN supports Wi-Fi in addition to Bluetooth. That means that you should be able to leave this thing in your RV or cabin and remotely monitor and control it from virtually anywhere. Its outputs are also rival to the much bigger Anker with 6 AC outlets, 3 USB-A outlets, a pair of 100-watt USB-C ports, and a 12-volt power port, as well as 2 additional 12-volt power connectors. We ran our Dometic fridge, which draws about 20 watts per hour, so we should be able to run for a couple days without even plugging in our solar panels. Adding a solar panel would keep our fridge running happily indefinitely. I ran a small air compressor with it and had no problems. I also boiled water with it. And I used our toaster oven with it. I even powered a Kenwood amp and speakers with it at our 4th of July tailgate party. Then I hooked it up to our DC load tester, and it output 130 watts continuous, once again without any complaints. Then I plugged it into our toaster oven and the DC load tester to see how it would handle heavy DC and AC loads simultaneously, and it handled it like a champ. To really torture test it, I ran a 1,000-watt space heater and drained the battery all the way down to 9%. The internal temps crept up into the red zone, but it still never complained. The first reminder that this is a small 1 kilowatt power station came when I attempted to recharge it after I'd run it down with that 1,000-watt heater torture test. Its internal temps had gotten up to 118 degrees, and it would only recharge at 280 watts. It took a couple hours to cool down enough to reactivate full 1,000-watt charging, and then everything was back to normal. There were a couple things I tried that humbled this little power station. One was connecting it to an old full-size residential freezer. The startup amps were just too much for it, and it cut AC power and cried uncle. The second was a table saw rated at 15 amps. It tried its best, but it just couldn't get the blade up to speed and it shut down. Now, all in all, this is a really slick little package. I love the fact that it screams quality and reliability while only weighing 25 pounds. By comparison, the 2 kilowatt Anker weighs in at 67 pounds. Now, it may seem odd to be comparing two power stations which aren't in the same weight class. But what I'm trying to say is that the UGREEN has captured the heavyweight Anker's best qualities and packaged them up into a welterweight version. Having a compact, relatively lightweight power station is not something I thought I needed. But after living with it for a few weeks, I've begun to change my mind. It's the right size tool for a lot of jobs, and I can see myself grabbing it first in most cases because it's so compact and so portable. The Anker continues to be my go-to for whole house backup, for big jobs and extended road trips, but for everyday portability and usability, the UGREEN is hard to beat. Now, if this sounds like something that might be what you're looking for, you'll want to check out the special Power links in the description below. At the time this video is published, you can save up to $250 on the PowerRoam 1200 and up to $500 when you purchase the power station and 200-watt solar panels together. So for under $1,000, you'll have yourself a killer setup with a sweet little power station to keep most of your devices up and running and a 200-watt solar panel to keep it charged while you're off the grid. So remember, if you're prepared, you have nothing to fear. I'm Scott with Power, and we'll see you next time.